Yo, no maniacs. Welcome to the show. This is Nomad Live, all bears all the time. In here tonight in these YouTube streets with my boy FFG style, man. We come here off schedule, and I know Ant Moss, man. I know Ant Moss and everybody else, Mayhem. This is off schedule for us. What are we trying to do? We're trying to get back into some regular programming. I remember, and I was just reminded of this when I was just talking to FFG in the back. About we put a schedule out at the very beginning of the season and wasn't able to really stay true to it because, when you're dealing with podcasts, man, you're dealing with everybody in their personal lives and who's got time to do this and who's got time to do that. And hold on a second, man. Damn it, man. Having crap going on. Hold on. Excuse me. I had, you got regular life, people with regular life stuff going on, and you got to really call an audible for the most part. But my intention was always to make sure you guys got as much content as we can put out there for you guys. And here's my guy FFG here to help out with that. And Friday night, the thumbnail looks like this. And unfortunately, man, I hate this little theme that's going across the Bears fan base right now, FFG, and that's this. I think it's a lot of people out there that would rather see us lose. And I think that's the insurance that we get rid of Flus at the end of the season. I think people want to be rid of him that bad that they'd rather see us lose than win. And that's part of what we came here to talk about and kind of take a look ahead at, some possibilities as far as the coaching ranks go, and talk about some of these guys that's out there. But before we get to it, we just need to have a conversation in general with the No Maniacs about everything. And, that's one thing, but there's a lot going on right now. And I just can't see. I'm just for the record, FFG. I'm not one of those people, man. I'm not with losing ever, but I get it. People don't want to see Flus have some kind of grounds to come back here. And that's just where people are. Well, pass it to you for some pleasantries. Shout out to everybody. Kids ain't here right now. So let me shout out Ant Moss, who was here. First man. Second man up, Mayhem, Bearski Film is here. Let me see here. Amos FFG, Bearski Film. And that's it, what I see in the chat so far. There's several people filing in. So as you guys do, we'll give you a shout out when we see you. But FFG, man, what's your thoughts about everything I just said right there?
I can feel the vitriol coming from all sides. Coaching has been one of the biggest pet peeves of most Bears fans for at least 2 straight decades. And I'd rather be a Lovie Smith situation where he was winning and they finally said, you can't get us over the hump, than you stink and we got to get rid of you. That's my personal opinion. So at least there could be some kind of level of success in the organization where the players don't just revolt and go into that where we can't win because of. Now, we can still win. He may not be able to take us over the top, but at least we can succeed. And we just need somebody with a extra special sauce to get us over the top.
Man, look, this question, this statement by Joseph Matuzek. Shout out to Joseph. He says, "Good evening. So, how do you motivate a team that has no hope of postseason? What are the things that they can play for and hang their hats on as a team?" That's just it, man. You know what? The strange thing about football is, these dudes work their butts off all year round just to have a chance to play for something. And in their minds, I'm sure there's a few people here and there in that locker room that probably feel like, like Joseph Matuzak feels. Like, what's the point here? Checked out. Let's make some vacation plans. Let's get through the next several weeks. But there's some people in that locker room that don't feel like that, man. I can assure you of that. Probably most people, but I just like this whole vibe of we need to tank the rest of the season and get rid of Flus and start all over with some new coach. And I don't know. We're gonna talk about these different coaches. I don't know that the answer to the quiz is outside the building. I just, what? I ain't got no problem with any of the fan base that feels like that. I just can't fix my mind to think that way.
The way I look at it, Nomad, because I believe Joseph has a point for the average fan, but if you've even in the corporate world, if your company in first place or the best, do you not go to work every day and say, "Oh, let's pack it in"? I still need to get paid. I still need to prove myself because I could be helping us to win or to be better the next year, or we can be on top so I can have a better stature in life, or I can even move to the company that may be the best. So you always want to put yourself in the best position to show out and show what you got. And plus, experience is the most important thing you can gain in sports, because the better you are at your job, the better you're going to be down the road.
Man, I'm seeing new people jump in here. I always shout out Joseph Matuzak already. Smitty. Let me see. Chris Foster. Come on, keep it pithy, Chris. Keep it straight, man. But listen, man, before we get into this whole coaching conversation, let's talk about, we got an injury situation to talk about on the good side and slightly on the bad side too. Looks like Tevin is going to play. He looks like he's healthy enough to go so far. Looks like DeAndre Swift sounded like he's a go. I watched the presser, and he said he's good to go. So I'm taking his word for that. Bad news is Keenan rolled an ankle in practice today, and that's kind of 50-50. It sounded like from last time I checked and heard anything. It's a 50-50 situation, and we need all hands on deck against this defense. And what do you think about that, man? We got probably about the healthiest offensive line we can have right now. We was expecting to have Ryan Bates, but he's probably not gonna. I got a feeling he's gonna go on IR soon, man, because it doesn't. I don't know, man, but it doesn't look like he's gonna play this week. He's in concussion protocol. I don't know what the deal is with that. You know what I mean? Concussion protocol. That's always kind of like, okay, I'm ready to get to the next team or something else, man. But what do you think about the injury situation?
Me personally, you have to evaluate who can play. And that's where coaching comes into fruition on any team. Because I didn't see cats, especially the dude in Minnesota, he didn't had to go out there and play with nobody special when his star players were hurt, especially at the quarterback position, and they were always prepared to compete every week. So your offensive line coach needs to be better. Your defensive line coach needs to have those cats prepared, and your overall game plan and scheme needs to be proficient so you can compete. And the best thing that you can do in the offseason is have everybody on the same page at all times, especially the people, the 50 or 60 that have been here. They know what's going on every play, on every down and distance, so they're ready to plug and play. And I think that is 100% coaching, which needs to show out at some point where you can say, hey, they've been down this person, just like the defense. Brisker ain't paid in weeks. Defense and secondary been ready to play. John Hoke's been on his job. See what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, man. It's just I hate where we are, man. I was watching quite a few podcasts, and I don't always have time to be watching all that shit, man. I was watching quite a few podcasts, and there's some real defeatism going on out there. I don't like that. I don't like the energy, man. I just don't like the energy, and it's like counterproductive. I don't want Flus here no more than anybody else does. I was supportive of him all the time he's been here, but it's become clear to me over this especially this latest period that you got to give your team the best opportunity to win games, and his coaching style is very tight, very very not aggressive when it needs to be aggressive, and you got to give, like, one of the guys we're going to talk about today is Brian Flores, and as a defensive coordinator talking about Flus is letting your dog play with the leash off. You know what I mean? Let him play with his leash off and let him run. Let your attack dogs attack. And that's the problem. And that is that. And it's also his in-game coaching decisions, giving his team a chance to win. And he had a fan in me. And he's lost me. I ain't gonna lie right now. Can he win me back? It's gonna be hard to do that, bro. It's gonna be real hard to win me back. But that's just where I am right now with Flus. I don't see him as the guy that can get us over the hump. I think he was good in building a culture. He was good in getting a few, draft pieces in here for us to work with, especially on the defensive side of the ball. But I believe that some people, you can prove yourself to be. There's a lot of guys that's out there, defensive coordinators, offensive coordinators, just haven't gotten the opportunity to be head coach. And this no fault of their own, but he's had opportunity to show that he can actually coach this team and get us over the hump when the game is in his hands. And he's let us down too many times. And I think that's the sting that the Bears fans are feeling right now. And that's just what I'm trying to speak to right now.
Well, I used to go back to the pressure this week where Thomas Jones said, we ain't going to coach scared. And I think that he's coached scared so often to be conservative, not to force the issue to win games, where he's actually lost games because of that. Instead of his team knowing, okay, we need to go for it, or we need to do this, or we need to do that, to be in position, not just to have a chance, but we're going to take a victory, has been lacking. And that's where I think it needs to come full circle. And growth is a big option, even not just for players, but for coaches. And I don't see the growth over the last 3 years where, last year when we lost them close games, where we just, basically, took a dump in the bed when we had a chance and we was kicking teams behind, and we let them come back, and then we lost because we didn't have no cojones to get the job done. And it's still representing itself each week now, where there's no discipline and there's no sense of urgency to take victories, not to hold on for them, but take victories.
I just don't believe in playing relaxed and playing to not lose, man. That's how you lose, is playing to not lose. You take the bull by the horns, man. And by the way, Scrolls, now I don't know, Kez ain't here tonight, man. He can't do shit on certain nights, and I think this might be one of them. I don't know, but he's not here tonight. He'll be back for in game on Sunday and post game. But yeah, it's just that, man. It's the whole thing with the aggressiveness, man. I'm watching this defense, and again, all this week, man, been watching so much film, man, and watching Flus line up versus what I see Brian Flores do to create the number one run defense in the league. You know what I mean? That's not because he's got hella, just unique talent. It's just the way he plays the game. He plays the game to win, not to lose. And he's an aggressive scheme play caller, and that makes all the difference in the world. You know what I mean? So that's that, man. But before we get into this conversation about these coaches in particular, we're going to talk about them one by one, the guys you saw on the thumbnail and some other guys. We'll talk to you guys at the end, towards the end, and get you guys' thoughts about, some other guys, some other names that we may or may not be talking about. But before we get into that, FFG, I just want to know, in your, give me the first thought that comes to your mind, and please do elaborate if you want to. What do you think the best thing for us to do is you think it's to tank to get a better draft pick right now, or go for the gusto and try to get in the playoffs? What do you think is best? What would you do under the circumstance?
Number one, you need the fan base. So tanking is never an option. You need to have optimism and hope, regardless of who the coach is, regardless of which direction they go. You need the fans behind you, because unlike most teams, they depend on outside money to get paid. The Bears, like the Packers, depend on the Bears only to make money. And if you're losing your fans and the money that you bring in based on the culture and how you represent yourself on the field on Sundays, then you're going to lose that stock. And you're going to lose the fan base. And for the initial franchise of the league, you can't continue to be inept. You just can't. You have to show and prove, because that's the only commodity that you have.
Truth be told, man, listen, I'm never going to stand here and say, I mean, all would have to be lost. We talking about when we get down to like there's only 3 or 4 games left in the season, and we are mathematically not gonna have any chance of getting the playoffs. That's when I'm gonna be hollering, "Hey man, take your guys out and just let these guys rest. Let's see some backups. Let's see some young talent or some practice squad guys." That's when you will hear me preaching that. But so long as they have a chance to compete and win games, that's not coming out of my face. My mouth ain't trained to let that come out. As a Bears fan, I'm not, as a football person, I'm not built to think that way. So I don't know how that comes to fruition for a lot of people, man. I think I saw some good stuff this week in this game. And when we start talking about Thomas Brown in particular, I'm gonna point him out, man. But let's get into this. Let's get into this conversation about. And give me a second, guys, while I pull up this graphic. Give me 1 second. Oh crap! Hold on. All right, first guy up on the list. Let me see. I think we should talk about this first. Brian Flores. Now, here's the background with him. What was he? Was he head coach in Miami?
Yep. He killed Tua's career, kind of, sort of.
So Brian Flores is the poster child of all you gotta do is step on the wrong rich person's toes, and no matter how good a coach you are, you may or may not get a head coaching job ever again in this league, because it is it's a good old boy network is what it really is. There's only 32 teams, 32 owners, and somehow, some way, Brian Flores stepped on the owner's toes in Miami, and some of the things that he said, and which I think I credit him for speaking out about, and especially if it's true. But when you step on certain toes in this league, and then you still expect to get a head coaching job in this league, let's just talk about that first. That whole thing and him rubbing Tua the wrong way, and soon as he left, Tua started to take off a little bit. There's something to that, and I think that's FFG. I think that's personality type. I think that's more than anything else. Everybody's not ready for that brash personality type, that in your face, I'll tell you what it is, whether you can deal with it or not. It's like everybody's not ready for that, and I got a strong indication that that's really what's going on with Brian Flores. He's just not one of those guys that's going to be a yes man to anybody.
Well, and the real issue with him was they basically told him, you got to tank and you need to leave this kid alone so we can win. You know what I mean? So you need to be hands off. I know you're a defensive minded head coach, but you can't go around browbeating players. And he's like, you can't be a punk and play on my team. You can't be soft. That's basically what he told him. And Tua didn't like that message. And he came at him every day trying to force his hand, said, you need to be better. You need to, have some charisma with your players, and you need to show them that you belong, because you wasn't my pick. I didn't want you. Basically, that's what he told him. I did not want you. You know what I mean? So they told him to lose, and he was like, you can kiss my behind. And so once you piss off a billionaire, they can blackball you. Like you said, there's only 32 options. And if one of those billionaires say this guy's got a bad attitude, he's not a team player as far as the ownership goes, then you can't ever rise back to that level. Like, you can never be a foreman again. Yeah, you can be the shift leader, but you can't never be a foreman again. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I'm gonna just speak to what MC Fact, he spoke to it. MC Fact says just what you said. The owner wanted him to drop some games to get a higher draft pick. And Bearski Film also says Flores ownership offered him $100K per every loss he gets. Owners didn't like that info going public.
Yep.
I'm not faulting him for any of it. It's a game of politics when you get to a certain level of business, and he's at a high level of business with a lot of money on the line. You got billionaires playing billionaire games, and even though a lot of people would have said, you know what, even though that might be true, Brian, why'd you have to say it publicly? Because they were tarnishing him. They were making him look bad when it probably wasn't his fault things wasn't going right in Miami. He probably, just like any coach, man, you come into a situation and no matter how good you might think Tua is, he might not be the quarterback that Brian Flores wanted. And when a new coach comes onto a team or a new GM, it's their prerogative. It's almost like the Justin Fields situation. It was whether we liked it or not, it was Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus's prerogative to take that route. You know what I mean? And we backed off and said, okay, pick the pick, make your pick you want. Let's see what this guy can bring to the table. Similar thing here, man. I think he's getting a bad rap. I'm just going to be flat out honest with you. I don't know if he's ever going to get a head coaching job in the league, but if he's ever going to get one, I think this year he's making the best case for himself. I would say that because anytime, FFG, anytime that you can have the number one run defense in the league, no matter how good you are in the rest of your offense, secondary, wherever it is, you're going to give yourself a chance to win. You're going to have a good chance to win in every game if you just stop the run first. And they're number one in the league at doing that. That's why they have a chance to do something this year. It's because of that guy right here on the screen.
Well, who was number one last year? Which coach or defensive coordinator / coach did it last year?
I believe it was Baltimore and
it was Flus.
Was it Flus? No, he
wasn't. Yeah. Bears was number one last year.
I ain't buying that.
Yeah, look it up. The Bears was number one, but his other decisions killed him because he wasn't aggressive. He just had people in the right position to make plays, and some of the veteran players that we lost this offseason helped counteract what they were doing last year. And health is a big deal on defense. And if you look at it, because we started out in the middle of the pack, somewhere around there. Then we got up to top 10. Then we got to top 5, and then we were just shutting people down. Now, we had a last place schedule, but that ain't got nothing to do with stopping the run because we still got to play the NFC North that run the ball. And two of the best running backs in the league was in our division last year. You know what I mean? So, and really, if you want to look at it as a two-headed monster in Detroit, and we was killing them cats, we were shutting down Aaron Jones and whoever was healthy for the Vikings, we were shutting them down. So we had to play quality running teams with great offensive lines, and we was crushing them. And that's where Big Bill is killing us right now because we don't have that space eater. And that's why teams are running on us this year. That's the biggest reason because they've changed it up just enough where we're not attacking anymore. We're sitting back and waiting. And he doesn't do that. And I think that's probably the most important thing that I see what Brian Flores does. He keeps you guessing on every play. It's not just line up and, okay, you got to stop it or we got to stop you. You don't know what the hell he going to do. So and he confuses everyone. Doesn't matter whether it's rookie, 13-year vet. They got to be thinking all the time. And that's what Flus doesn't do from a defensive standpoint. They'll go man-to-man. They'll go zone. They'll play different facets of the game that we just don't utilize with the skill sets that we have. And I think if you don't utilize every aspect of the talent that you have, you'll never be able to be productive on a consistent basis.
You know what I suspect, and I don't know if it's going to come from him being a head coach or still as a defensive coordinator, but I got a feeling I'm not going to say it's going to happen this year, but I got a feeling that defensive style. Here's a bad thing about what he does. Eventually, the league will catch up with it like they catch up with everything. They'll catch up with it and figure out a way to kind of nip it in the bud and kind of counteract what he's trying to do and really expose it. There's going to be a quarterback and an offense that's going to come along. It's going to expose him. But before that, I think he's going to get a Super Bowl, whether he's whether he's a head coach or a defensive coordinator. There's a Super Bowl in this dude's future. because I think his defense is that explosive and that game changing to teams. He's gonna land himself in the Super Bowl, and maybe that is what puts him over the top and gets him that chance at the head coaching job, because it's hard to deny somebody whose defense just won them a Super Bowl a head coaching job. It's going to be really difficult for a team to not give him a job after that. But I think his style, that I'm telling you, it's so unique right now in this league that it's going to end up putting him in the Super Bowl, and he deserves a shot at a head coaching job at some point. But I do like what he brings to the table. Is he head coaching material for the Chicago Bears? It's questionable, and I just let me direct that to you. Let me shoot that to you directly. Do you think, based on what you've seen so far with him, that he's head coaching material for here in Chicago?
I think that he has head coaching experience, which makes him valuable. And just imagine if he got a hold of the pieces that we have on defense, and he's able to bring in another quality defensive end and another quality defensive tackle or two. I think that he could transform this Bears defense in the top defense in the league. And more than likely, they're going to have to add another strong safety, because I really feel that Brisker's career is getting ready to be on a decline because of his head injuries. I feel bad for the kid, but it's the truth. But if he was here, we would no question be the number one defense in the league. And Eberflus is not doing a bad job, but he doesn't utilize the talent, because we can actually play man against 90% of the league right now where we wouldn't worry about getting beat. And they're not teaching that part of the technique at all. So do I see that Minnesota has an opportunity? Yeah. If their offense sustains, they can beat anybody any given Sunday. And with the way they play defense, yeah, I really think that he's got an opportunity to shine as a Bears coach. And it's just about whether they're going to give him an opportunity or not. And that's really what it is, because he's got to prove himself and his character to the rest of the league. And he can't be like, well, I didn't pick this dude, or that's not who I like, or whatever. Sometimes as a coach, you got to work with what you got, and you got to make it work to the best of your ability. And I think that is where he has a downfall, that he does not try hard enough to take advantage of the personnel he already has, and he wants to redo it his way regardless of what he's got available to him. Instead of accentuating it, he wants to downplay it. And like, we'll win with that regardless of you type of attitude.
And you know what? Don Burr put this up. Let me speak to this right quick. Hopefully I'm gonna have time to get back to this, but that's some film that I was getting ready to look at that film, because I wanted to see how they matched up against Ben Johnson and that offense, and how they dealt with it. I believe Don Burr is right. I think they are about 1-3 against Dan Campbell in the offense in Detroit. I want to see why. And this, when we get to Thomas Brown, I think you guys are going to be surprised with what I say. And what Don just said has a little bit to do with what I'm going to say about Thomas Brown and his chances with this team. And you guys just stick around for that. And I promise you're going to be surprised what I tell you. But that being said, that's interesting. And my guy, I just lost that comment. But somebody just came in here and said that this made the point that, you can't, they don't want to see somebody that runs a 3-4 coming to this team and overhaul the defense, because that's pretty much what you're going to have to do. We don't have 3-4 personnel right now. And we spent quite a bit of money and draft picks to shape this defense into the 4-3 that it is. And now in a 4-3, you can shape up a 4-3 to look like a 3-4 all days of the week. Look at what Tampa Bay's coach does. Look at what Eric Washington did when he was in Buffalo. So you can use 4-3 personnel and do 3-4 shit. No question about that. It's just about how you want to scheme it up and how you want to plan this thing. And so I definitely, whoever said that, I hear you. I hear you, man, because that's one of my biggest fears in the world is them having to switch over personnel because they brought a guy in. But listen, man, this guy right here has the cachet, and I'm telling you, he's going to end up winning the Super Bowl somewhere because of that defense. I promise you, man. It's just a matter of time. That is the most aggressive defense I have ever seen since the 4-6 defense. I'm a defensive-minded thinking and studying guy. I ain't seen nothing as aggressive as the 4-6 in my life until this dude. And I'm telling you, what he calls is special. He's a special schemer and game planner. Yes, he gambles. Yes, you will. The right team can come up and really make you pay for the gambles that you take. But this dude right here, he's gonna win more than he's gonna lose, and he's gonna end up with a ring on his finger because of it. I'm just saying that out in the open. But let me take him down for right now. And I'm reading some of these comments, man. Let me get to a couple of these comments before I carry on. Let me see here. MC Fat. He said, yes, Brian Flores is head coach material. Look at the garbage people who get hired every year for head coaching jobs. The Eagles lost the Super Bowl, and both their coordinators got head coaching jobs. Make it make sense. You want to speak to that?
You know what? They made the Super Bowl because they took what they had, but they developed. And so when you developed a culture and players to a scheme, it shows the rest of the league that you have talent, that you can say, okay, I have these players. Here's what I can do with them, and here's how we're going to play, and I can make it the best version of who they can be. And that's what coaching is. It's about accentuating all the positives and trying to clean up the negatives so they're less glaring. And what I don't see about Eberflus and the Bears coaching staff, especially on defense, is that you got a lot of talent, but you're not taking advantage of it compared to, hey, I'm a man up on the outside and I play zone everywhere else. And I'm taking away your two best weapons. And now let's see if you can run the ball. You know what I mean? Where I'm locking you down because we got a top number one corner. And we got another kid that can pretty much lock people up if you let him not have to sit in zone all day long, where he could be a physical down the field corner, you know, where he's instead of having him play off. So that to me is another aspect of where you're failing the team. Just like we should have never lost to Washington, where they backed off when they was at like the 35-yard line and basically had like 30 seconds, and we could have easily played regular man-up zone and took away that easy throw, and that game would have never got to the heave-ho for the Hail Mary. You know what I mean? Is there certain things that you can't just give away in a scheme? And I think the longer the game goes on, the closer it is, the less aggressive that we become on defense, which we should be shutting people down. Like, we shouldn't have given up 20 points to nobody all season because we've been holding people in check. Yeah, some cats got some good running lanes on us early in games, got up points. But when the adjustments were made for that the third quarter to the damn near the last 3-4 minutes, we were shutting people down. But then that last 3 minutes is where people come back, score, make the game close, but we should just be able to close them out like Pittsburgh. And that's what I love about what they do there, where they choke the hell out of you down the stretch. You not getting nothing except yesterday because they was playing in the snow on a short week after getting busted up by Baltimore and physically, you know, so they wasn't ready. But I really would love to see us have that mentality, really, to destroy teams.
Man, all I know is I think would I like to see him. I'm not like some people. There's a lot of people out there that feel like there's no fix to this situation if it's not an offensive coordinator. I don't subscribe to that mindset, and I'll tell you why. Because all it takes is someone that's a great leader and has great presence and really, really knows the answers to the quiz. And you can be a really good head defensive coach. Like Flus could have done this. They just made the wrong moves at picking offensive coordinator. Number one. Number two, his in-game decision-making I thought was going to mature and get better over time. It seems like it's getting worse. You know what I mean? By all standards, man. It's just like Flus could have done this. He could have done this if he took another mindset and hired better, more forceful an offensive coordinator can really, really get something done, man. And, you know, I'm not blaming the offensive coordinator for the flaws in what happened with Caleb over the last several weeks. I'm not blaming him totally. Some of it was him. Some of it was play calling, but a lot of it was Caleb. And so what Caleb seemed to me needed was someone to be real direct with him, real clear, and play and really expect him to play really clean, simplify, you know, what he was asking him to do, alleviate some of the BS that comes with it, man. You know, you listen to Caleb at a presser, and he's talking about 12 worders when it comes to the offensive play call. Like you talking about 12 word, you know, you stand in a huddle, we're going to run a jet right motion, 12 X flip, you know, all that kind of stuff that happens in the huddle when they're communicating to the offensive line, receivers, and the backs. You know, it sounds like Thomas Brown's trying to dumb that down as much as possible to really minimize what this guy's hearing and hoping that helps him, you know, clear his mind so he can play cleaner. And I start to see evidence of that in this last game. So I don't subscribe to the notion that a defensive minded head coach can't get it done. I've seen it happen too many times. I know people want to see an offensive coordinator be the head coach, but that's not the only answer to the quiz. It's multiple. And so I get it, Bears fans and No Maniacs, I get it. But that's not the only answer, this offensive coordinator. But this next guy we're about to talk about, I'm going to get these comments up as much as I can. Let me see. The scrolls are saying you need QB pressure. You can't keep putting everything on your back seven. That's a whole conversation. Yes, sir.
This is the truth, though.
Man, dude. Let me read some more comments. He said Joseph Matuzak says Waldron's specialty is fixing pseudo-experienced quarterback, not a rookie. Man, he just made a hell of a case for that, didn't he? Did he not?
Yeah, he wants somebody with already fundamentals down, knowing the game, regarding how they know how to process information. And so that's another aspect that you have to look at because we do have a young quarterback. It can't be helped at this point because this kid's going to be here for the next 4 or 5 years minimum.
Hey, he's this for Arias. I'm probably messing your name up, and I apologize. He said, if going defensive head coach, I prefer Saleh over Flores. And I think he's probably saying that because he's got that San Francisco background with the 4-3. And I know that's where his mindset's going. It's a 4-3 based defensive scheme. It's way more aggressive than what Flus coaches. And I understand that. That might not be a bad move, but is Saleh actually a good head coach and leader of men? Because that's what it's going to come down to. Let me see. Bear Truth 9. Read his comment. Bear Truth 9 says, maybe, no, man. I get what you're saying, but I think Waldron didn't know how to be or to hold people accountable. That's a listen. I've been in rooms where like the let's just say the defensive line coach was kind of a pushover in that room. And like you go into, like in college especially, you go into a room where it's position rooms and you expecting a certain amount of decorum when you go into that room. It's like people need to be up on their shit and taking notes, and that coach is in there holding people accountable, that coordinator, right? And most rooms you go in, that's exactly what's going on. And then you walk in one odd room and everybody's in there jackballing around, throwing shit at each other, clowning, cussing, and playing around. And this coordinator, and this position coach is in there actually allowing it. And so, when you heard about FFG, when you heard about that meeting, I was happy to hear about it because I know that every coordinator isn't an A-type personality who's going to go in front of a room and bark at people and make sure his presence is felt, right? I know everybody's not built like that, but that doesn't mean he's not a really good coordinator, but holding people accountable to that point, he was lacking, bro. He was lighting the ass when it came to that, and I think that ended up costing him in the end. He didn't really capture the room, and it kind of got off the train tracks from there, man. After the fact that they had to, round him up and get him in the room, say, hey, man, you can hold us accountable. We veterans, but you can still hold us accountable. I think they should have known that going into the situation, right? FFG, before they hired him. What type of personality type does he have versus what they need in that room? But what do you think about that? Let me stop talking.
Yeah, I mean, the interview process, I think they were happy to get an established offensive coordinator that had experience, can show that he can deal with people that they even considered a bust and make him viable and actually prosper in the league, where people left Geno Smith for dead when he was in New York, so he resurrected his career. And I think he gets more credit for that, not just the team that was surrounding him, because he had much better weapons than he ever had in New York playing for Seattle. You know what I mean? So I think it's more your mentality and how you teach and how you hold people accountable for their job is way more important than the X's and O's portion of your coaching style. Because there's a whole lot of coordinators out there that's decent, not great, just decent. But when they run and play, everybody knows their assignment. Everybody's on point. Even the backups come in, they don't miss a beat. That's what you want, where you don't have to depend on so-and-so to always be in the game for it to be a quality play or a result. And that's where I think that he depends on more of the personnel to be stellar than the actual scheme and the game plan. I mean, look at the team had to tell him, hey, script some plays. When last time you ever heard no stuff like that from any team? Well, we need to know where we're running right away so we can be proficient at this, so we can pull this out on anybody at any time, or we can start with play 4. You know what I mean?
FFG, I've seen a couple coordinators that didn't script their first 15, 20-something plays. I've seen that. Like some guys are like, I've seen, like in high school, we had a pretty decent offensive coordinator, and he didn't script anything, man. We knew what was on the menu. But we didn't know what was coming down the pipe from play in and play out. We had guys coming in and out, bringing the plays onto the field. So I was one of the trio of guys that would come in and out in between plays and bring the plays in. And I was always surprised with what he called. Sometimes he sit up there in that booth and find a rhythm, like in game. Like, some guys are really good in-game adjustment coaches. And I understand that. You know what I mean? Guys can see something happening out there live on the field and say, fuck them. I mean, excuse my language. Screw them 15, 25 plays. I see something different. Let me call something else. And so there's that world that some coaches live in, versus some of the people that, got this plan in their head based off the film they saw and everything like that, and say, you know what, let's script these and let's run these and see how they defend these. I get that world too. But I definitely lean towards the side of the world that says, you know what, wait and see how they present themselves to you. I don't think you should pre-plan anything you do against an NFL defense, because you just don't know exactly how they're going to come at you. So I understand both sides of that conversation.
Well, I saw in the chat, one person was screaming for Belichick. One thing that always impressed me about Belichick is he game planned for the team he's playing that week. He didn't give a damn about what we did all season long, off-season, training camp. He said, this was going to work against these fools this week. And this is what we need to focus on. So, yeah, we need to do this. This is how we're going to play them on defense. This is how we're going to hurt them on offense. And that's what I don't see. Every week, we don't have enough where we can open up the playbook 100% to be able to attack in every facet of the game. We should have about 15 to 30 plays where they were great at, and we can mix and match those, or a wrinkle that we can throw in for this week to take you off guard and move the ball and to score, or a wrinkle on defense where, yep, you're used to seeing us do this. You've been game planning for that. All right, we're going to take that away now. And that's what I don't see.
Yeah. You know what? You just kind of bent into a conversation I was going to have with you, and I'm still going to have with you about Thomas Brown. And I think you're going to enjoy that conversation because my film junkie ass was on it. Was on it in these last 24 hours, man. I tell you, when I tell you I've been on it, I've been pooping all 22 on Thomas Brown and what he's been doing. But we're going to get to him last. The next guy up, pull him up right now. Got to talk about this guy right here. Kliff Kingsbury. Now, just heard this probably 30, 45 minutes ago that Jerry Jones is laying hints that he wants to bring this guy in as their next coach. And hold on, let me switch this window up. But let's start right there, FFG. What are you there?
Give me a second.
All right. Let me talk a little bit while he's getting ready, man. Kliff Kingsbury. Think they have the number 6 ranked offense in the league right now. And what he's done with the rookie quarterback is far beyond commendable. You know what I mean? What he's done with the rookie quarterback, you would like to I look at their scheme. I really look at it hard, and I'm looking at it and seeing if I'm seeing something really special, or am I seeing something that's really, really, because it doesn't look like what they were doing in Arizona. It's almost night and day compared to what I've seen them doing in Arizona, as a matter of fact. It's a pared down version of some very simple play calling schemes that's really helping this very talented quarterback. And the talented quarterback is taking some very simple play calling scheme and making it look really good. And they have a real solid running game that's backing them up. And so is it really the coordinator? So I think it's about 50-50 under the circumstances. Do I think Kliff Kingsbury will make a really good head coach? That's up for debate, but he's in that ether, man. He's in that conversation ether about, what do you think about this situation right here? What do you think about Kliff Kingsbury as a head coach?
I think Kliff Kingsbury is a great offensive mind. I think he's matured since he was the head coach of Arizona. If I look at the quarterbacks he's put in the league, they've all prospered to some degree. You know what I mean? That they've actually had success, but his overall style eventually gets found out because it's not layered. You know what I mean? And he's more of a Eric Coryell guy to me, but he's learned how to start running the ball. So, and because Washington had the personnel to run the ball, it's easier for him to take the pressure off because they went out with all them draft picks that we could have had and got a quality line for this kid because Heineke was getting killed last year. Even though he was throwing for 300-400 yards a game, he was getting killed when he wasn't throwing for that. So I really think he's taking advantage, and we have better talent on the outside than they do. Tight end, wide receivers, and even number 1 running back. We're having an advantage. But what he did is he took a version of what Arizona State and LSU ran for the current quarterback that he's got. And that's what made them a better team early because he did something this kid was already used to running, playing in a pro system at LSU and Arizona State with Herm and then going to LSU. So I think that he actually learned how to supplement what he does to benefit the team. So he's learning. Now, do I think he's a great head coach? No. I really think that he's only focused on one side of the ball. And if you notice, Arizona used to be up on teams, even USC and Oklahoma used to be up on teams. They will let people come back because he doesn't focus on the defensive side of the ball whatsoever. And he doesn't get quality defensive coordinators. So for him to make that decision, and that's why he got hired as an OC after the head coach, who was a defensive head coach, took over the reins. You just worry about the offense. Don't worry about this rest of this stuff over here. So he's better at his job than the overall position.
You know what, FFG? What I have to say, I'm looking at
Oh, sorry, the wrong people.
What if
Mr. Mayhem.
Big mustache, brat tripping. Good one.
Y'all be clowning, boy.
Oh, that's wild. I gotta put that back up. That's crazy. But you know what? My only criticism of Kliff Kingsbury. Here's my ultimately how I really feel about Kliff Kingsbury. Kliff Kingsbury might be a really nice guy. He might be a really good play caller and a schemer. He might be really, really good at that, FFG. But I think bottom line, and I had to do my homework on him as he was being interviewed for the Bears head coaching, offensive coordinator job. I wanted to see what we were dealing with because I didn't really do any in-depth, research on Kliff Kingsbury before now. That was in this offseason, and I researched him thoroughly. Kliff Kingsbury, as much as I hate to say this, is not your man's man. I would just say that. And the way Kyler Murray punked him on the sidelines, when he lost him, man, he completely, FFG, when I say he completely lost that bunch, Kyler was punking him on the sidelines, straight punking him. And you can't be that and lead a locker room full of men. You can't. There's got to be some kind of something. You can't allow that to happen in front of the entire team. And I know it's in front of the whole world, and you kind of got to take it on the chin. And there's no room for a whole lot of machismo in that moment because you can say something back and some crazy shit can happen. You know what I mean? So I get that. But he is not. I don't see him as a leader of men. And I think because he's such a good coordinator and he's unique in his style. And I think you can get kind of enamored with that and choose the wrong guy as your head coach. I brought him up, and I brought it up for conversation because I know people are out here talking about it. And so, to me, I just don't see head coach material when I look at him and I listen to him, feel his presence. I need a guy that's talking to me. I know I'm talking to a man that really, really knows what this game of football is about and is going to demand excellence from me. Not a guy that wants to coddle people and will take that from a quarterback mid-game. Like, I'd have sent his ass to the locker room. I don't care if you're the starting quarterback or not. Get your ass off the field, go to the locker room and get dressed. You don't talk to me like that. And so that's the indictment I have on Kliff Kingsbury. I need a man to talk to me. You can coach me hard, but be a man about it. I'm not calling him anything other less than a man, but I don't think he's a man's man in this coaching rank. And that's what you need to be when you're dealing with grown-ass men that's millionaires. You know what I mean? You got to have something to you. And I don't read that on him at all.
Well, who were the starting wide receivers on that team? They're both veterans, like 12, 13, 14, 15-year veterans on that team when he took over.
Hold on a second, man. Let me Paulski from Bearski Films wants to jump in. Let me get him in there. Paul, he gonna jump in here hot, and I know he is, but I'm gonna send you an invite.
Hold in, Paul. Let's go.
I'm gonna send you one. Let me see. Just take it easy. I know you got a lot to say, man. Let me send you one right now. I ain't seen Paul in a while, so it's gonna be fun.
Oh, he knows this. He knows his Bears.
Oh yeah.
But he had Larry and Anquan Bolden when he first started. And both of them was like, y'all, you can kiss my behind. Because I can't deal with this soft ass, excuse my language, way of coaching. And we not being productive because when we start getting behind or we not winning, you have a defeatist attitude type of situation. And that's why I think killed them. Why? Because you notice every season they start off 5-1, 6-0, 7-2, and finish the season damn near 500. Every season when he was a head coach. Why do you think that is? It ain't because the talent wasn't there. Because once he lost the team, he can never get him back. And that's what happened to Eberflus. Once he lost in that last minute of that Washington game, just imagine we was 5-2. That would have pushed us to the upper echelon of the NFL. And the confidence level would have been through the roof. And we would have beat the ever-living crap out of Arizona and New England. But with that big letdown, he took it the wrong way, and they went down, 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 and down since then. You know? So there's no effective way to have a team rebound from losing bad losses, you know? And we've yet to recover. And Wilbon spelled it out. He's like, yeah, that was going to be the beginning of the end. And that's where I think his job became in jeopardy because of that.
I'm gonna tell you guys. I'm gonna tell you a quick story, FFG, and this is some off. Like, so one time, and I hope ain't nothing really happened. It wasn't didn't beat him up or nothing like that. But one time, one of my guys that was coaching, I'm gonna bring you in just a second, Paul. Right after this, one of my guys was coaching in high school in Ohio, and he was having a problem with a couple of kids, and one in particular was just. You know, you got a certain role that you have to have. You not only you're a high school teacher, you're also the coach. There's a certain amount of rules that you got to live by. But this kid was giving them stuff, and he was talking all kinds of stuff. He said, "Man, I need you to come out here and see if you can work with this guy and straighten him out." And I came out there. I was in Columbus, Ohio. I went over there, and in case you didn't know, this is Independence High School, right? And I go up there, and just one of them street kids that really never really had any direction in his life. And, you know, and I pulled him, and I'm in the room with him, and I could see the problem that he's having with it. And he told me straight to my face, he said, "I only respect you if you can dominate me." He was like, "Can't no MF in here dominate me." And I was just like, "Hey, bro, let me holler at you." He said, "What you want to holler at me about?" I said, "Man, just come in and let me talk to you out in the hallway." And there was an empty classroom. I moved all them damn little desks and shit out the way, slid them all to the side. I said, "I'm not going to beat you up. I'm going to show you how you could be dominated by a grown man and why you need to listen." And I threw that boy all over the place. They was like, I told before I went in there, I told the coach, I said, "No matter what, don't come in here. You know I'm not going to hurt him. I'm not going to beat him up. I'm not going to hit him." And so I basically had to fold that kid up just to prove to him that you not no man yet, and you could be dominated. So what is my point here? You got testosterone-filled men in there, or kids that think they men that really, really want to try you. And what I'm saying is I see the similarities in Kliff Kingsbury. Like, if somebody does that to you, you got to have the answer to that quiz. Kliff Kingsbury got punked in front of the world, and you can't have that. I get fired just because of what would have happened after the game. FFG, they're gonna fire me the next day because I'm a piece Kyler Murray up. You ain't doing that to me. You ain't.
Yeah, it'd have to be some police calls. That's for sure.
But welcome, Paulie. Let's welcome Paulie to the stage from let me get this going. Hold on. I can't do it because I got Kliff Kingsbury up there. We gotta leave that. So everybody sees Paulie back there from Bearski Film. Shout out to Paulie, man. What was it that we said on here that really sparked you and made you want to jump in and have some takes?
Well, first of all, I just wanted to see if you were able of making mid-show adjustments, because that's something that clearly the Bears have struggled with, making some adjustments mid-game. So I appreciate you just kind of bringing me in on the fly and everything like that. So, it's been a minute since I've been on here and since we've talked a little bit. And for us content creators, it's just been busy. So, yeah, I do appreciate the time and everything. And, just this whole coaching conversation interests me. And the one thing I've always felt from a head coach is the most impact a head coach makes is during two different times. When the team is at its worst and when the team is at its best. And when the team is at its best and you're in the playoffs and you need that coach to put you over the top and win you games, that's where Kliff Kingsbury has failed, right? Like he only took Arizona so far before they just hit a wall and he couldn't do anything to help them overcome that. So yeah, as far as an offensive coordinator, maybe, but I think that Kliff Kingsbury has shown enough flaws as a head coach. Even though he's experienced, I think there's better guys out there that you can go out and get. And really, what we need right now is the creativity on offense is nice and everything. But even if you bring in a guy like Ben Johnson in here, you still need to scheme up a game plan according to the talent on the field. Like, will this offensive line hold up for you to be able to get creative? Because if not, then you just need to lay out a foundation, start simple, at least build something. And that doesn't take a lot of creativity. It just takes a lot more patience and just scheming things towards the talent that you have or the obvious flaws that you have. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm not really very high on Kliff Kingsbury, to be honest with you.
And Kliff Kingsbury, I think he's always going to be always going to be one of those cutting edge offensive coordinators for the most part. And I think that's probably going to be his best role if he stays in the NFL. But something tells me that he's going to end up back in the college ranks at some point of another, running a top 5 program and doing it that way. He's going to get lured. College ranks has a lot of money they're offering these coaches right now. I don't know how these coaches in the NFL keeps turning down all that money, man, because it's a lot of money. College is expanding, the playoffs, and how they're doing everything in the NCAA. There's just so much more money involved than I ever would have imagined. And I don't see Kliff Kingsbury long for the NFL, to be quite honest with you, unless the owner of the Washington Commanders decides to give him this hella break the bank kind of check to stay with Jaden Daniels and what they have going on. That's the only thing I see happening. He may take a job, some head coaching job in Dallas or wherever. I don't, somebody said earlier in the chat, the Bears always make the wrong head coaching move. I'm not accepting that. He's definitely not the right guy, but I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up here. Would you guys be surprised if he ended up the head coach of the Chicago Bears?
Hell yeah.
You would be surprised knowing the Bears' history.
Yeah, because one thing they don't do is hire known, excuse my language, bitches. Where the rest of the league won't hire this guy as a head coach. That just tells you something. He's already shown his propensity to be dominated, and you can't be dominated in this society of a working class. He got away with it out in Arizona. It's not the same, but he couldn't come to Chicago with that laissez-faire attitude. He would get ran town after 2 or 3 weeks because they'd be on him so tough. The scrutiny here is almost as much as it is in New York, way past what LA even offers. This is the number 2 market in the country for a reason. And people out here are harsh when it comes to talking about the team and what you should do and how you should prepare and the expectations. So he couldn't handle it. Even DC ain't nowhere close to what Chicago has to bear when it comes to a head coach of any sport.
Yeah, would it be the right move? No. Would I be surprised if they hired him? No. They have shown that they have made poor decisions. And I do not like to entertain the ownership conversation very often, because if I had to put a percentage blame on what's going wrong and this and that, I think there's a ton you can do on the field. There's a ton you can upgrade with coaches, and there's a ton you can upgrade with the GM actually building this team correctly before you even get to ownership. But if I'm going to ever blame ownership on anything, it's going to be more from the financial aspect. And, I would have taken Kliff Kingsbury as an offensive coordinator over Shane Waldron. Part of the problem is that I believe you're paying Matt Eberflus $4 to $5 million a year, and I believe Kliff Kingsbury wanted 6.5. So you're not about to bring in an offensive coordinator under you that's going to make more money than you. And, on top of it, I believe Eberflus has this tendency to play scared in a way where, like we just saw with the Green Bay game, you had 30 something seconds on the clock. But no, this is good enough. No, it's not good enough. In the NFL, you fight for every inch, you fight for every yard. You're more worried about the potential failure, about you getting sacked, about you getting pushed back, rather than believing in your guys to be able to go out there and get you a couple of yards. And to me, that's faulty. But with Kliff Kingsbury being the offensive coordinator here, he would have been breathing down your neck right now. Eberflus might have been fired right now because we would have had a guy to be able to potentially step in and act as a interim head coach because he has head coach experience. So why would you hire a guy that, it could threaten your job and your position? And once again, that kind of goes back to just acting scared. I mean, I would try and just put the best staff together no matter what, period, because I would believe that we would have success and I wouldn't just, have my mind filled with doubts and fear. So, but yeah, I would it surprise me if he got hired here? No. Do I want him here? Absolutely not.
Yeah, my last take on this is not much different than what I said to begin this thing. I think I can gauge what type of person we're dealing with by just listening to somebody, getting a read on an individual. And I do think Kliff Kingsbury is a nice guy. I think he's great for situational stuff like, coaching the quarterback, bringing the quarterback along, coordinating an offense, head coaching. I don't think he's a personality type, man. This is Chicago, and you can't have someone that can't be a forward individual in this city, man. They will eat you alive here, number one. Number two, the players are going to smell that eventually, and they're going to take advantage of it. And so is he head coaching material? Not so much in my mind. And that's just the guy's honest truth. It's just my opinion. I'm just one person. I'm just one person. This is my opinion of him. I hope he proves me wrong, to be honest with you. I wouldn't mind coming back and saying I was wrong about Kliff Kingsbury, but I don't see man's man on him, and that's what you got to be in the NFL to really command a group of guys for a long period of time. So let me take this down for a second and take a break, and I need to mention this because people ask all the time, dude, Nomad, can we get on the show, man? Can I come in and I got something to say and all this kind of thing? And we welcome everybody over here. We welcome everybody. If you think that you got the chops to come and join a podcast and be a part of what we do over here, send us an email. People all the time, Nomad, I can't get in contact with you. Here it is right there. And I'm gonna leave it up here for quite some time so that people get time. You can put it in a note in your phone, whatever you need to do. Write it down, take a note, do whatever you got to do. But also, don't forget what Papa Bear says down there. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. But all you got to do is get in contact with us. I read the email on a regular basis. And if you think you can come on the show and add something to what we're doing, we're all about the community anyways. And we want you guys to, just like FFG, out of nowhere, he decided, you know what, I'm gonna jump on him. I asked him if we can get on here. And just like that, boom, bam, he's been on like 4 podcasts in a row. How do you like that? And so I just would encourage everybody to read this, take it to heart. Nomad Live Pod 2023 at gmail.com. Come on, join the family, man. We waiting on you. If you got something you can bring to the table skill-wise, something off camera and something behind the scenes administrative, bring it to us. We need all the help we can get. But if you want to, it's just in general, you want to talk about Bears, it doesn't matter who you are, what color you are, race, gender. I don't give a damn about none of that. And neither does anybody else over here on the network. So bring what you got to the table. No judgments over here. We'll welcome you and show you some love. So just wanted to put that out there. Anybody?
I'm a walking example of that. You guys have shown me nothing but love, man. And I appreciate you for it.
Hey, man, it's real. It's nothing manufactured. There's nothing fake about it. It's all in the love. It's just about, meeting people where they are, Bearski and Paul. Paul, it's not about judging. Like if we don't get to a point society-wise where we don't stop pointing the finger and finding a reason to judge somebody, instead of seeing who a person is as an individual and meeting them where they are, we in trouble and we're down a bad road. No judgment over here, I promise you. Is everybody that contacts me going to be on a podcast and be a part of the Nomad Network? Probably not. But that's okay too. But don't be scared because you think you're different and you think you might not be accepted over here. It's not the case, I promise you. So, hey, we welcome one, we welcome all. I just want to say that. Anybody else, you got anything to say, FFG?
Yes, sir. I appreciate the opportunity you gave me. Just being a fan, watching the show, giving some insight every now and then, and really feeling how you guys do things around here. I wanted to be a part of it. So I said, hey, you mind if I come on? And he was like, go ahead, come on. Show me what you got. And it's not, we not out here getting paid by a network. It's about your heart, your courage, and your knowledge and how you feel about the team, whether you can be able to provide something that's positive and noteworthy to the rest of the people that feel the same way as you. So you don't got to be a scholar to be out here and do this. You really don't.
It really is about love. I appreciate y'all in the comment section. Leonidas, Ron, I see people in there. I see people chatting and giving their comments, man. I appreciate you guys. I love it. I love it. But really, I just want y'all to know, man. I just want everybody to know if over here at the I said the Nomaniac Network. Over at the Nomad Network, everybody is welcome. And we're looking for people, as a matter of fact, people that have skill sets and people that just want to do podcasts, want to talk about the Bears. We've got several different podcasts that we do, the members only content that we do. If you want to come in here and cut up and be rowdy, come join some extra sauce. Perfect platform for you. If you just want to talk about Bears on a general like we're doing right now, come on and join Nomad Live and Nomad at Night. It's plenty of room for everybody. So just let me know. I'll put this up at the end of the show just to remind people. Hopefully you guys, there's somebody out there that's wrote this email down that's going to contact us, man. But take that down for now and get to the next subject. And the next subject is probably the most talked about man in Bears. I'm not even gonna say nothing. I'm just gonna pass it to you. Whichever one of y'all want to go first, go ahead, take off.
You talk about the sprinter?
Hey, Ben Johnson is the I got my thoughts about Ben Johnson, but I'm gonna let you guys take over for a second, man. Talk for a minute.
Hey, Paul, I'll let you go first because I know you probably got more perspective.
So, first things first about Ben Johnson is, I believe during this last offseason, he was asking for about $20 million a year, which is top head coach money. And that's not something that I believe that the Bears front office may be very comfortable with. Second of all, I do believe that whoever we get, we do need to get an offensive-minded head coach in here, because if you get a defensive guy in here and the offense does do well and take off, what happens? That guy is going to get head coaching opportunities his way, right? So the structure does need to be offensive head coach, because it's a lot easier to retain a defensive coordinator even when you're having success. So that's a positive. But I do think he's shown a lot, and he's a very interesting candidate. But he's also been a very big benefit of having a good, complete, deep roster, right? I'm not downplaying anything that the Lions have going on right now. For as long as they've struggled throughout their entire history, that's why I don't talk back to Don Burr. You know why? Because it's his time to talk. Like, just let him. The guy's hasn't had the opportunity in decades, right? So it's finally their time. They're doing it, and I'll show them gratitude and I'll show them love because it's real. So I think he may benefit from a situation that's a little bit different than ours. I'm not sure if, like I said, if creative play calling is what's going to fix our offensive line issues. You know what I mean? So I like Ben Johnson. I like what he brings to the table. I think he's got a lot of potential, a lot of promise. He is very expensive. And, if something goes haywire in San Francisco, let's say, or if something goes haywire in Cincinnati and they get rid of their head coach, I would expect Ben Johnson to look at those two opportunities and those to be more enticing than what the Bears have going on right now.
Go ahead, FFG. I'm playing passenger.
Well, I think he's lucked into a situation where he doesn't have to be a coach of the team. He can focus on his main objective which is to scheme up the offense. So he lets Dan Campbell be out there, be the rough, tumble, gruff guy, and put people in position to succeed and kick them in the ass all the time. You know what I mean? So he didn't have to do any of that. And that's not his role on the team. And wanting $20 million a year for being an OC, you can kiss that goodbye. Straight up. Now, he's never had to take on that responsibility. Even as an offensive head coach, he's done a great job because they built it. Because you got to think, but people forget this. He's been there for 5 or 6 years. It ain't like they started out like gangbusters busting people up. They've gotten better as a team has gotten better because the worst they've done, and they got all the draft picks where they were able to build a line, where they would be able to get wide receivers, where they would get running backs. And one of the main proponents that's helping him is the guy that left our team, over there running people over, Dave Montgomery. So he's benefited from a lot of help to make him look like a classic head coaching, like the guy in Miami, McDonald, whatever his name is. I can't think of his name. But he had the same thing in Philadelphia. And Miami had the money and the draft picks to be able to go out and get that. Same thing that he has. And if you notice, when the quarterback was down, they wasn't shit. Excuse my language. You know what I mean? He could not, and he got the fastest team in the league, right? Miami has the fastest team in the league position-wise. Running backs, wide receivers, tight end. Ain't nobody touching them. But when their quarterback is not playing well or when he's hurt, you can't see any of that because they have nothing to work with. And luckily for him, because I have him on my fantasy team, if your quarterback is not hurt, you can play well every week. He made him so efficient in the offense that they've been running for the last 4 or 5 years where they all know the scheme. And even the newer players, they got to run the same scheme. The problem here in Chicago is we never have a scheme long enough for anybody to learn it and to be proficient at it. That's why Andy Reid is such a genius, because it doesn't matter who leaves or comes, the scheme stays the same, and I can throw a wrinkle in here or there. You know what I mean? So I agree with Paul. I really think that we need a offensive-minded head coach to stay, to get paid, to build a culture where we're about challenging other teams, because there's a lot of great defensive coordinators out there, a lot of them. Like a lot of people wanted, even me personally, like I look at the situation in Cleveland. They may keep Stefanski with all the problems they have, but that dude is a great offensive head coach, and he's been running a team with he got to rebuild and had to get all these players to buy in, and they've been winning when the quarterback is healthy. You see what I'm saying? That's what all these teams depend on. Healthy quarterbacks. You know who doesn't depend on that? Minnesota. They put a bunch of bums, cats off the street last year. Even Green Bay has done it. They brung in nobody special, and the system keeps working because it's the offense, that production that is built into the system where you can plug and play regardless of position. As long as you know what we're talking about and how to run this, we're going to be effective every week. Doesn't matter who we're playing. And that is what you want to have as a head coach, even if he's de facto OC, whatever you want to call it. That is where you start to build a culture and dominate other teams. So Ben Johnson, yes, has a cushy-ass situation that I think he's a great offensive coordinator. Do I think he's going to be a great head coach? He's never had anything close to that kind of responsibility because someone else has been doing the heavy lifting and allow him to do his little job. Like, he's a great forklift driver. He can get he knows the warehouse backwards and forwards. He can get all the shipping done and all that all day long, and everything will be where it's supposed to be whenever it needs to be there. He's great at that. But he can't run the business in my eyes.
Okay. I got you because I'm going down a similar road. I'm gonna go from the bottom to the top on Ben Johnson. Look at Ben Johnson. Like, I can look at Ben Johnson, and it ain't nothing about him individually. While I'm looking at him, I'm just reading what I'm looking at, and I don't read leader of men on him at all. Seeing his interviews, seeing him communicate with a couple of guys. Guys like him. You know what I mean? He's a likable guy, but there's a big difference between there's a lot of coaches I've been around that were likable guys. But can you lead an entire team, an entire franchise, an entire organization? Number one, I question that. Number one. Number two is, let me explain to you guys how the Detroit Lions are built and how they operate. The Detroit Lions set this up the right way. They got it right in the trenches first. And so the trenches on the offensive line dictates what Dan Campbell wants to do. Dan Campbell wanted to turn this team into his basically identity twin. Physical, tough, rough, and wanted to pound you. He didn't want to surprise you about what he wants to do to you. He just wanted to devise a scheme that really dictates to you who we are. And we're going to punch you right in the face. And that's what they do. Ben Johnson is nothing schematically special. Nothing at all. Trust me, I didn't watch the film. What they do is a bunch of stuff out of 1, 2, 3 formations and do it really well. And they execute it. Why? Because they have the offensive line to pull that shit off. And what you see is points on top of points, explosive plays after explosive plays. Why? The key to it is execution and the demand from the head coach to execute at a high level. Get your blocks from the receivers all the way on into the center. If you got to pull center and get all the way out 10 yards ahead of the where the player is going to, snap that ball and get your ass over there. You see that demanded play after play, and you can see it emphasized. That has shit to do with the offensive coordinator. And that's about the pieces you have. And so there's nothing special about Ben Johnson. I'm telling you guys right now, he's getting overhyped. He's getting way overhyped. And him as a head coach, I seriously question. But go ahead, Paulski.
No, yeah, definitely. And when we brought Matt Nagy in here, I remember in against the matchup, I believe in 2018 versus the Packers, the one where Rodgers went out at halftime with a knee injury, but still came back to win it. I remember we were driving down the field and we're at the goal line. And it pans over to Nagy, and he's got the play calling sheet, and he's rattling off a play, and the offense lines up and gets a false start 5 yards back. Pans back to Nagy. He's just still lost in his little play sheet. It's like that false start never mattered. And your job as a head coach is different than your job as a play caller, right? And I know Ben Johnson said he would still like to call plays no matter what team he goes to, even if he becomes a head coach. And that could be beneficial, but it could also be problematic. And I think for a guy with little experience being a head coach, it's more problematic than beneficial because you do have a lot on your plate. You got a lot to do when it comes to leading a team. And so you may just be better off being an offensive coordinator. And I know you mentioned Andy Reid, FFG, and I always look at Andy Reid, and it's so interesting to me because I take the Eagles GM, Howie Roseman, and I use him as a prime example of one of the best GMs in the league. This man fired Andy Reid. However, he held on to him for like 8 years, gave him every chance possible. It just went stale. Andy Reid was never a bad coach. It just got to a position where we got to move on from you. Whereas like he won a Super Bowl with Doug Peterson and 3 years later fired him because Doug Peterson's not a good coach, right? So sometimes the result and the success don't go hand in hand with how good of a coach you are. And I look at a guy like Sean Payton right now with the Broncos. That team was supposed to suck. They're overperforming because of the head coach and the atmosphere he creates and the expectations that he creates for his players to execute. And so I'm not sure if Ben Johnson has that in him. It would be another project. It would be another gamble. What you would be hoping for is kind of like a Kyle Shanahan situation where when Atlanta went to the Super Bowl and lost to the Patriots, when they were up 28-3 at halftime, when Kyle Shanahan left that team, all the success left with him, right? So although I like Campbell as a head coach, that rah-rah mentality and everything like that, and that play tough for me, that only works when you're winning. When you're losing, that becomes a very stale type of mentality, right? So, yeah, I don't know. I don't want to gamble. I'd rather bring in, and I know John Fox gets a lot of slack here for the results he got here and the record he had, but I've always looked at John Fox as like the last real head coach we had in our recent history, and it's because he was a Super Bowl appearing coach. He got there with Peyton Manning. They got embarrassed in the Super Bowl. He went to ownership. He wanted to run his offense, not Peyton Manning's offense. And they had to mutually depart because the ownership wanted to lean more towards Peyton Manning. And so what did John Fox do? He took a job here where the expectation was, hey, just redo this locker room. Just turn this team around in 3 years. We don't expect a playoff appearance. We don't expect wins. And during that time, what happened? Like I said, Adam Gase wound up getting a head coaching job as an offensive coordinator under him. He left behind Vic Fangio after he left, who we all loved and was a real defensive coordinator. He brought a staff with him because he's an experienced coach. And he did whatever he needed to do to sit there and turn this locker room around. And I'm kind of leaning more towards that right now. Like, we just need somebody who knows what they're doing, because this is a very unique situation when it comes to the talent on this team. This team is very young. There's still a lot of untapped potential. But, like, we need a guy in here that's able to grow a quarterback. I'm not sure if I've seen Ben Johnson necessarily do that. So, he's gotten the best out of Jared Goff. And, I'm not trying to – it's hard to knock a guy when they're having so much success, right? So there's a lot to like about him. However, for our situation that we're in, I don't know if he's the right guy. And like you said, you brought up Kevin O'Connell. Man, they lost their starting quarterback. They didn't skip a beat. You brought up Green Bay. Jordan Love went down. They bring in a quarterback midweek. They're able to devise a game plan for him that's easy enough for him to come in and have success. It is. And like, so that's the one thing that I have a problem with Eberflus. It's like, you've been in football your whole life, whether it's playing, being an assistant head coach, whatever. You've been subject to all these situations, situational football left and right. When you get this head coaching position, you should come in with an established philosophy on both the offensive and defensive side of the football, to where if I go to my offensive coordinator and I rattle off a situation in a game, and I said, here's the situation. What play are you running? He better rattle me off a play that's something similar to what I have in mind. And then when I go to my quarterback and give him the same situation, he better rattle me off a play that's something similar to what I have in mind. There should be an established type of philosophy, an established game plan. Whereas what I think Eberflus is doing right now is, hey, we're going to hire you and we're going to trust you. And it just feels like that's not there, right? So, when it comes to Ben Johnson, I'm not sure if he has. I mean, he hasn't proven that. He's proven is that he's able to call plays successfully, get the most out of a veteran quarterback that's in his prime, and do a lot with a very talented roster. And, that's not the biggest uphill battle. Now, like I said, coaches, I feel, make an impact when the team's either at its worst or at its best. The Lions are at their best. He's helping them get over the top. I'm not taking anything away from that. But when things are looking sour, can you hold it together? Can you do what Sean Payton's doing? I'm not so sure. And so, yeah, that's where I kind of have my doubts with Ben Johnson.
I'll say this, man, and I'm gonna finish this up. I'll give you guys one more chance if you want to talk about Ben Johnson, but I'm gonna really emphasize this because this is how I led the conversation about Ben Johnson. Say this one more time so it's clear with everybody that's watching and listening, anybody watching it on replay. Don't get so enamored with an offense or a team that's scoring a whole lot of points, and especially this team in particular. There's nothing special about what he does. It's just really vanilla stuff. He does a lot of stuff with motion and gives the quarterback some tells and indicators, and the quarterback has learned to play from that, off of those indicators that motion provides. You put what's his name, Amon-Ra St. Brown, in motion, and he kind of can have the answers to the questions while he's in motion and know exactly what to do with that ball, whether to audible out of a run or whether to stay with that run, switch that run from one side to the other, slide the line protection. All of that stuff is dictated off of emotion. You know what I mean? They're not doing anything special. And I'll say that one more time. There's nothing special about it But when you have a dominant offensive line and you have the pieces in your trenches to execute and pull off the very simple plays, which football is a very simple game. It's very, very simple. Get out on your blocks, execute, give these guys a chance to execute the play to its full. Just let it progress the way it needs to. And like one thing in particular that they do very well is when they want to really attack the perimeter of your defense, they send that shit to the right side where Penei Sewell, who I think is probably, if not the best right tackle in football, close to it, right up there next to it. They just put that game in his hands. When they really, like, if they're down 7 to 14 points and they got some time left on the clock, let's say early fourth quarter or something like that, they're going to stretch that field over to Penei Sewell's side, get him out in some lead blocks, and let him dictate the way. Toss it, do a stretch run to the outside, whatever it takes. They're going to attack you with that offensive line, which is aggressive, and they know they can win with it. You know, when they play us, it's a different thing, Don, while you in there talking all that shit. Yeah, I'm just going to say it. I see you in there talking all that shit. We figured it out. Just keep y'all in underneath the umbrella. Let y'all pull your shit off and run and hit you. That's what we figured out, and get after your quarterback. Once he starts to start that deer in the headlights and starts to kind of see ghosts and not really reading, and he's worrying about the next hit that's coming, that's when you see the real Detroit Lions come to life. And so there's nothing about, like, there's always going to be a team. I don't care how good a team is. There's always going to be a team out there that has that other team's number. Good as the Patriots were. I don't know, for whatever reason, when they faced the Jets or the Miami Dolphins, they ran into problems. They had the mother number. You know, so that's what I'm saying. Don, you happy, but I'm telling you right now, we got y'all's number. We know how to play you. We know exactly what to do. Just get after your quarterback, stop the run, and we'll be fine. Can we do that this year without Andrew Billings? That's a whole other question. But we got y'all a couple times. Y'all just got one win out of that. I just want to put that out there with your punk ass. I just have to put that out.
I'm co-signing on that. Well, I look at it this way. Just imagine if the Lions had the Bears' offensive line, where would they be?
Man,
exactly.
They would not be winning at all. Nothing.
Wait. Did you say if the Bears had Detroit's offensive line?
No, if the Detroit had the Bears' offensive line,
they
broke up and always hurt and never had the same 5 cats playing every week, where would they be? They wouldn't be one of the worst teams in the league. And it's true. Because they got a bunch of weapons. But if you can't block and you can't get out there in the perimeter and you can't get to the second level, how well does that offense work, especially when you just stated how we crushing them, we see them, they don't know what to do with us. You got to think about it. His worst games in the last 2 years been against the Bears, except that whatever 3-4 interception game he had a couple weeks ago, right? Jared Goff. But other than that, he been efficient as hell against most teams in the league. He played the Bears, he looked average. Just the reason why Sean McVay got rid of his ass. You know what I mean? He went, like people were praising Waldron, he was able to bring a veteran quarterback in who already knew the NFL, and he was able to, hey, don't worry about it. I'm going to show you how to be better at what you can already do in the offense that I have. You know what I mean? So that's the reason why Jared Goff seems to have a resurrection in Detroit, because they already had a line in place. They took them 5 years to draft all them dudes. It wasn't like it happened overnight.
FFG, let me tell you something. You know what terrifies, what keeps Don ass up at night, and he keeps a binky under his damn pillow at night, because he dreams of those teams out there in the league that can really, really get after the quarterback. And when there's a team that can really get after Jared Goff and really touch him up and make him uncomfortable in the pocket, none of that shit works. You end up with 5 interception games and shit like that just happened recently, and he knows that's their Achilles heel. if he runs into a team, if the Detroit Lions runs into the team, they can really, really get after Jared Goff. He knows that that's their Achilles. Jared Goff is he's gonna destroy that team every time, and he knows that deep down that all the other team needs is a pass rush, and everything, and all they gotta do is be decent against the run, and everything. Their whole house, the cookie just crumbles. That whole house, that whole cookie house that they built over there, it just crumbles, and he knows it. That team is built to win a Super Bowl, but there's a flaw to what they have, and that's at the quarterback position. He can't move. He's a fucking statue back there. Excuse my language.
Right.
Brady
Definitely.
Manning, Tom Brady, where he's one of them old school. I have to be in the pocket quarterbacks. I don't have a way to get out of danger. Quarterback. So once you collapse that pocket on his ass, then he throws it up for grabs. Luckily for Green Bay, Jordan Love can at least make a couple moves to get outside. And that's what saved Aaron Rodgers' ass all them years against us. He was able to get outside. But Jared Goff can't do that. And that's the reason why he got put out in LA, because he couldn't see the field in all aspects and know the play. All right, I can do this and shift you where I don't have to depend on the actual play call. I have the rapport with my wide receivers and my running backs to know where everybody is on the field at all times. So, because he did some stuff against us that was magical when they was kicking our behind until we came back and won that game. You know what I mean? And he was 35, 36 years old doing that to us, already been beat up or years and years in the black and blue division. So when I look at Ben Johnson, he's in the right position where he needs to be, or he can play the background, coach the offense, and not have to worry about the pressures of being a head coach.
Man, all I can tell you, Don, is, man, those nightmares are warranted, because eventually, when they get into the playoffs and when they run into a team like Kansas City or somebody, or let's just say they got to the Super Bowl and they run into Kansas City gonna wipe the floor with them. They got pass rushers. They got a middle rush. They got edge rushers. They got secondary that can back them up. Dude, Jared Goff is in trouble. But before he even gets there, you know, there's other teams he got to deal with in the NFC, and you think it's a cakewalk. It ain't. They're gonna play at a different level when the Lions get into the playoffs. I love teams that get off to these hot starts and, you know, get these hot records and stuff like that. And then in the playoffs, when the game changes and they start, you know, switching into that next gear, Don, I'm telling you right now, y'all, as long as y'all got Jared Goff at the quarterback and he can't move, you're limited. I'm just gonna put that out there for you. That's not gonna change. Jared Goff ain't coming out that game unless he gets hurt, and that's gonna be your Achilles heel every single time. Y'all ain't winning no Super Bowl, bro.
And have no backup. They don't have nobody behind them either. That's the real problem. They have no depth. So even if he does get hurt, who's coming in to save Detroit? Even if he's out for a quarter or a half, what are they going to do? They toast.
There's a team in the NFC right now there's a lesser threatening team to most people, but the Bucks and what their defense, their head coach does, man, they get after Jared Goff, man. I'm telling you, he's gonna have a long day.
And that's their only loss too, the Bucks.
Man, dude, I'm telling you, man, I'm telling you, Don, man, I hate to tell you, man, because I like Detroit's team, man. I ain't trying to hold you, man. Detroit got a solid team. I like what they do. I love their style. There's nothing about the Detroit Lions that I don't like, other than they are rival. Other than that, as a pure football guy, there's nothing not to like about Detroit. Now, when you're being honest about what the flaw is in Detroit, you got to start with the quarterback. He can't move. The guy can't move. He can't move. Where's he going? He is sitting duck back there. And you got to, in this NFL, you got to be able to stretch the field with your feet sometimes. You know what I mean? But that's just where they are, man. They put all their eggs in one basket, and that's behind Jared Goff. Good luck to you, Don. You're gonna need all of it. But let me switch topics right quick, because this guy right here, man. This guy right here is my pick to click. It's an old saying in watching White Sox games, who's your pick to click? Everybody, if you've been around Chicago area, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But for those who aren't familiar, who's your pick to be the breakout guy? And it's basically what that means. And this guy right here, Paul, I don't know. I don't know what you think about Thomas Brown. Before I get into this whole conversation about why I think he can be excellent, I'm gonna let you give your take on what you think he can bring to the table and what you've seen so far before FFG gets to it. What do you think about Thomas Brown?
Well, he's in the position he's in, and I think that says a lot. If he was something special, he would already be an offensive coordinator somewhere else. So that's number one. Number two is I think we might be victims of just being fans of a clear upgrade, because Shane Waldron was not doing many things very well, and he is definitely better than Shane Waldron, which might make him look better than he actually is. What do I think of Thomas Brown? I don't really know. I mean, there's just not that much out there on him. He's says the right things, right? And so I guess that's step one. In his first initial step, he nailed it out of the park, in my opinion, right? So like, he did what he needed to do. He brought this team together. He got them to play better. However, I need a lot more experience with him to actually have any kind of idea of what he's actually capable of. And I think maybe we might be caught in the moment of just, like I said, feeling good about success, because the success that we're seeing is based off of the failure of the guy that was here before him, right? So, yeah, it's better than what we had with Shane Waldron. However, as far as a long-term approach, I'm not willing to stick my neck out for him just yet. So, listen, I mean, I'm a fan for anybody to go out there and make a name for themselves in this league, right? And that's what he's doing. And so props to him. However, too soon for me to actually put my neck out there and, make any kind of confident statement about who he is or what his future could be. So
I figured you would go there, but I'm gonna say what I got to say and let FFG speak his piece on Thomas Brown and what you've seen so far and what you think about him moving forward. FFG?
Well, here's my take. He's one of the only candidates that's actually been a co-head coach so far in the league, where he's had to take on that responsibility with the Rams. And think about who's on the staff. Waldron, the running backs coach that we have now, wide receivers coach. You know what I mean? So he's actually been in charge of a lot of staff members that we already have, that he's already been working with. So if I look at it from that point of view, and the way he talks is a much different aspect of what we've seen in the past from any Bears coach. Like, it's almost like, fuck dumb. Here we come. We not finna go out like that no more. We finna put it to you, and we're not going to let up. Just like when you see these teams in college where it's 63-3 and it's 40-3 at halftime, we ain't stopping. We trying to get every point we can. We trying to get every edge we can, and we letting everybody on the team play to make sure they're better and sharper down the stretch. So when we have to play better competition, we can dominate you. And I think that is a mentality that we haven't had since when Lovey was a coach. And I really think that's a a moniker that you want to live by, that you have to say that we can't coach scared. We can't not be aggressive. We can't just sit back and see what happens. No, you got to make stuff happen. And I think that mentality is probably one of the best options that you could have as a head coach, or even a potential head coach, that you see what the whole team is doing to be able to accentuate winning. Not competing, but winning games. And it's about wins. I don't care what nobody else thinks. It ain't about looking good on Sunday and you got, well, we had a chance. Nah. It's about we go out there and kick their ass. And I think that is probably more important to me, where somebody's got that winning attitude, that they want to win. They want to focus on being aggressive, being dominant, and showing the other team that you can't come in our building and think it's a cakewalk because we the same old Bears. And if people are going to let that happen, then we're going to be the same old Bears, where we just get rid of the same regime. We go through coaches every 3 years, and the players are wasted every 3 years, regardless of how much you pay them, no matter how well they do. They just go on to somebody else with an established situation and longevity, and they start dominating other places because they're already good players, and we are the people that are left out in the cold.
I just want to say this, and let's be crystal clear about something. I'm asking one of the Nomaniacs, at least one of y'all, to go through the show catalogs, go back to when we were in the hiring process several months ago, and we were doing shows about the potential of guys coming in here, the coaching cycle that was coming in here. When we got to this guy, and we got to Eric Washington, you saw in some of those shows, I'm asking one person to go in there and come back when we do the Sunday show, the in-game show, or the post-game show. Come back at one point or another through one of those points, and let me know what you saw me say. Not everybody else, what you heard me say. And you will see that I'm not a prisoner of the moment right now. I know it's a lot of people on Thomas Brown's coattail right now, and just like, hey, I like this guy. Something about this guy. You'll find out that months ago I told you guys that. Months ago. FFG, you was probably one of the people that saw that show. But I was emphatic about this guy the minute I found out that he was up there for the offensive coordinator job. And he didn't get it, and I was upset. And I was so elated when I found out that he got into the building, and I seen that the Bears were happy about the fact that this guy got into the building. This dude, I'm telling you, this is the next Mike Tomlin and Lovie Smith right here. You want to look for the next guy that's going to be, that coach is going to have that it factor to him and build a team in his presence. This is the dude. This dude right here, and I'll give you some credit. Don, but right now, I think Aaron Glenn might be a possible guy too. He's got that it factor going on too. Aaron Glenn in Detroit, he's there. I want to say he went from the secondaries coach to the off defensive coordinator, but he's right there. But this dude, I'm telling you, don't let this dude out the building. There's something to this cat. And I knew it when I found out who he was. And I'm not new to it, like all the podcasters are not jumping on the bandwagon. I was early to it, and I said it early. This guy's got something to him. Before I get into the details about what I thought that he brought to the table, I'm gonna give it right back to you, FFG. Do you remember that show at all, or is it kind of distant in your memory?
Oh no, I remember, because here's what happened. So he went to interview for several head coaching jobs first. So he wasn't trying to be nobody's offensive coordinator. He went for head coaching jobs and didn't get them. Right? This is like 2 years ago. And nobody wanted to hire him as a head coach, even though he had the blessing of Sean McVay, that you could use this guy and he's going to be your next superstar. But nobody wanted to give him credit because Sean McVay called the plays for the Rams, especially after they won that Super Bowl. Remember, he was the OC at that point. But he didn't get the credit for calling the plays, but he knew exactly what was going on. He diagnosed everything, and he was in the booth in McVay's ear saying, hey, this is how we're going to get him. This is how we're going to do this. How we're going to do that. So he didn't get the head coaching jobs. This offseason, he went for a couple more head coaching jobs. Nobody wanted to hire him. Because you know what the crap that they tell you? No experience. You've never ran a team, but I'm assistant head coach of a team that just won a Super Bowl. That's one of the best offenses in the league. Okay. So, okay, I will bide my time. I will see what offensive coordinator positions are available at the right teams because he didn't apply for everybody. You got to think about it. He did not apply for every team. He applied for certain teams. And the team that actually hired him last year, he took it because it was a glaring need so he could show what he had to offer. And they didn't surround their number one draft pick with shit, and they gave away all the options that he had to work with. And even for them to win a couple games and to look proficient at times was a testament. When Adam Thielen is your best wide receiver, because you got to think about it, they had Chuba Hubbard, in the same breath, they traded away Christian McCaffrey to the Niners. So he lost his best offensive weapon during that season. So you got to look at the context of what he's actually done to be successful, because then nobody know who Chuba Hubbard was last year, right? Nobody knew. And now, was he a top 10 running back in the league? I can't even tell you what college this kid went to, because I know scouting report.
Oklahoma State.
Okay, but you know what I'm saying? He was not considered one of the top backs in the league, or even anybody that wanted to feature him as a top running back, because they have Foreman too, and we took him. You know what I mean? So for this guy to go through all that adversity of stepping down from assistant head coach to offensive coordinator to applying for head coaching jobs 2 years straight, nobody would give him a chance. It almost feels like my man Eric Bieniemy, where he's not just given the opportunity to show his worth in the league. And unfortunately for a lot of black head coaches, that seems to be, the prerequisite. But a bunch of guys who are just coordinators for other teams, oh, he's a fresh face, let's give him an opportunity. You know what I mean? But guys have actually done something and proven it, and the team's had success. It's not the same level playing field. So I would love to see him be the next Mike Tomlin, to be able to go in there young enough where, because remember, Mike Tomlin was assistant defensive coach on Tampa Bay. He wasn't under Dungy. Lovey was the defensive coordinator on that team. It wasn't even Tomlin. But he got a job and moved up and then became a head coach because of how they operated. So it's about how you facilitate and use your players to the best of their ability to become something and to teach a culture of not losing and not being passive. And that's where he's at this point in his career, where he can see it all over the league. And he's at a team where it's never been a passivity situation. It's been a smash mouth. We're going to beat your ass every time we see you. You don't ever want to see us again unless you have to.
FFG, you striking the right notes, exactly the right notes. And I just want to mention one more time, I'm not new to the Thomas Brown bandwagon. I'm going to say that one last time. Not new to the Thomas Brown bandwagon. Said it months ago when he was in the coaching cycle. Said it months ago.
Like when he interviewed for the head coach.
First thing you need, FFG, you need to be a guy that people want to play for. if you got a personality type that rallies professional millionaires and make them want to work for you. First thing you got to have. First thing you got to have. And if you have some X's and O's that work for the guys and the pieces that you have around you, and people rally to that, check that box too. This dude has it. Now, let me get into some personal references right now. I know I hear everybody in the chat right now that's saying, hey, give it a few more weeks and let's see what plays out. Could have a rough week next week with this week with Minnesota. And, things could change. Caleb could have a rough week and things could change. That's all in the ether. All that's there. What if he doesn't? And here's why I tell you the similarities. And I've been holding this back the entire show so I can get to this point. Everybody loves Ben Johnson and what he brings to the Detroit Lions and what they do. Let me tell you something. Looking at the All-22, the Bears All-22, I saw a lot of Detroit Lions in what Thomas Brown scripted for this team. Very, very simple stuff. A lot of 2x1. What does 2x1 mean? You got two receivers on one side, one receiver on the other side. Very simple stuff. Inline tight end. That means the tight end is not split out wide or in the slot anywhere. He's lined up in the line of scrimmage with the lineman. One back, whether it's under center or whether they're an RPO. That was the basic concept. And out of that, they ran probably about 6, 7, 8 different variations of different ways to attack you. That's exactly how the Detroit Lions attack teams and beat them. They got a speedy offensive line, athletic offensive line, and what Thomas Brown did for the most part, he used the offensive line, especially on Braxton's side. Use Braxton how they use what's his name? Penei Sewell on the right side. So they just ran plays towards Braxton and let him get out ahead of the play and let him lead block, and Swift busted off a couple of nice ass runs, and they let the whole everything get based off of that. Drew up some short route concepts, used the jet sweep to throw them off balance, keep them honest with that jet sweep, and then use the screen game with the receiver to get them out into quick plays and get 7, 8, 10, 11 yards with that. You see that several times. That's exactly what Detroit does to teams over and over every Sunday, and they execute it well. Look at the All-22 and look at some Detroit All-22 and tell me you don't see the exact same thing. So everything everybody is hollering about, Ben Johnson for this. Ben Johnson knows how to script the offense. Thomas Brown did the exact same thing. He did the exact same thing, and he executed it well with Caleb Williams. And he, not only that, he had the advantage of Caleb Williams, who's got some legs underneath him. And I'm pretty sure, and I heard that they denied this when they asked Caleb questions, that Thomas Brown didn't really put jumper cables on him and tell him to run the ball. No, he put situations in front of him like, hey, here's your option. If you see this edge rusher trying to do this or doesn't do that, run the ball. There's going to be a hole there for you. Really simplistic stuff. And so, to be honest with you, it's the same stuff, but we have the better advantage because we have a mobile quarterback. And so if you like what Detroit did and what they do with Ben Johnson, then if you look at if you look at the All-22 again, with what I just told you as a reference, you are going to love what Thomas Brown just did Sunday and hope that he continues that with Caleb Williams and this offense. Simple pimple shit. And that's exactly what Detroit does. He was executing like an MFer, doing simple stuff, did about 3, 4, 5 formations, and did several things out of it and made it look new every time. That's what he did, FFG, and it was impressive.
But here's the thing. Just imagine we have Detroit's offensive line where they could hold for the extra second and a half, for them deep overs and them in cuts and them go routes, and the posts are going to hit where people are open. You feel me? Where you don't have to depend on all that, because that's how Detroit can open up the playbook further than what we have options to do at this point. So that is where they can dominate because they don't have to just dink and dunk you and work the shallow part of the field or the over the middle, the simpler, 5 to 12-yard plays or 4 to 12-yard plays. But now you can focus on the 12 to 20-yard plays or the 20 to 25-yard plays because you have that time. Just imagine we had that time where Caleb can actually sit in the pocket like Jared Goff, who can't run, and now he's got, DJ just came open, bam, it's over the top. That's how they're killing people because he's got the time. Do you see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, I just like that. Your offensive line has some deficiencies, right? And they have a problem in pass pro. That's a well-known. I don't think anybody argues with that as of this point. One of the strengths of the team has been up until recently, the way they run the ball. And then you got a particular kind of lineman on your team. He's just looking at his stock. What do you have to stock this and use him to their strength? Braxton Jones is really fast and really quick, really athletic, and he's not the best pass protector. His strength is in the running game. Him getting out in the open and getting in front of people and giving his running back a chance to make a play. And so instead of keeping him in pass pro all the time and exposing his weakness, get some situations over to his side that really, really crystallizes his strengths. And that's what you see on film, FFG. And you got to really study it to really see that. You got to watch that film a couple of times just to know exactly what I'm talking about, to be honest with you.
And what I don't understand with having a young rookie quarterback who's dynamic in a lot of ways, that we're not road graders, or we catch, we don't hit. And so for your offensive line to be productive, you need to road grade people out the way. So instead of letting them dictate what you going to do, you dictate to them. We finna hit you in the mouth every play. Y'all going to be tired on the defensive line because we coming. You know what I mean? We finna knock some people down. Y'all be on the ground a lot because we trying to run you over. Whether it's Roshan, whether it's, jet sweep, I would love to see Tyler Scott get in there for some of them plays. Maybe Darren Evans this week. That you need to throw some wrinkles in there where we're running the ball, where you have to now focus on the run game. Now we can kill you because you can't stop the one-on-one matchups. Instead of you just be able to sit back and play zone, have 7 in the box, and just destroy us every time, or 8 in the box. Because the ball can't come out fast enough. Now we all over the wide receiver because we know they can get 10, 15 yards down the field. You feel me?
Yeah, I definitely got you, man. It's just when my instincts start tingling, my spidey sense start tingling about something. And this guy has got my antennas really high, man, and I see electricity going between both of them when I'm talking about him. I feel him. You know what I mean? And it's just there's people who go out here and they get coaching jobs, and then there's people who can lead and really, really invigorate an organization. And if this guy gets an opportunity, what he's going to do is structure everything around him to fit. And there's a quote that he said that I got that's really ringing in my head right now. Very basic, but very true. If coming from a guy that played this game at a high enough level to know, is a physical and a violent game, and it rewards those who are physical and violent about it. If that's not true, I never heard a true statement coming from a coach. It's the truth. And actually, I'm gonna give them a little taste of something that we were talking about in the background, behind the scenes, before we got on the show, and that was that play that ended up being a block field goal. The reason why that happened is because when you're a part of special teams. I was always part of special teams. I don't know why, but I never left the field, high school or college, when it came to stuff like that. The first thing that needs to be taught is you have to attack your opponent before that opponent attacks you in special teams. You don't want to be playing catch and being the victim on special teams. What happened on that play was they jumped on us and we didn't jump on them. Talking about in the trenches. They were supposed to get off that ball and put them on their heels, Green Bay on their heels. Instead, it was the other way around. The defense jumped on us and they got the advantage. It's just that split second, whether you got off the ball or not and made an impact on that in the trenches, or you allowed that team to do that to you. It's just that simple, FFG. And what happened was they just jumped on us and got the advantage and got the block kick. That's coached. That's taught. That's understood. When you coach, when you are dealing with special teams, you got to get off the damn ball. You got to get off the ball. And that's just that didn't happen. And Green Bay got the field goal block. Period. And that's what happened.
Well, I live here in Minnesota, and the color scheme for this brother right here is perfect. It's passive aggressive, because that's what the Bears play, passive aggressive. Now, they not gonna get punked, but they not gonna punk you either. You know what I mean? They'll come back after the fact, after something happens, but they'll take the initial blow. You know, then they want to be nasty about it later on. You feel me? And so I think that's where the Bears have been playing. It's not scared, but it's not demonstrative either. I don't see demonstrative attitude when they step on the field. First quarter, I'm finna knock you out. I'm finna make my block. We finna go down and score a touchdown because I know what I'm supposed to be doing on this play, and I'm going to get the better of you because I know what I'm doing and you don't. And I see that time and time again where we're waiting for stuff to happen to us instead of making stuff happen to you.
True indeed, man. I'm telling you, as simple as that points we just made, as simple as that is, it's difficult for a lot of people to understand. Like when you're in the trenches and in the midst of a game, and if you're not the aggressor, you're the victim on the football field for the most part. If that makes any kind, if you're not the aggressor, you're the victim. Somebody's taking advantage of you. And so, see, what I see in this guy, and this is my last point with Thomas Brown. And so you hear, it was a lot of stuff being talked about with Tyreek Stevenson and his, chippiness on the field and the way he plays the game. And he came unglued and unlocked from the game and did some silly shit when we needed him to be locked into the game. That's shit that's unexcusable. If I'm coaching this team, I'm riding his ass until the hilt. But I'm not gonna hold him out of a game. I'm not gonna suspend him. I'm not gonna do none of that. I'm gonna fine him hard on a rookie contract and make him pay the weight. That's what I'm gonna do to him. But I'm not gonna take him away from his team and our team because I love what he brings to the table. The chippiness and the play to the edge of the whistle. I need some more of that. Thomas Brown, he's got the personality type that's going to bring you more Tyreek Stevensons. And whatever you think about Tyreek Stevenson and that play that was absolutely foolish, he can get all those guys that are like Tyreek Stevenson to play on one accord. They can play on the same note. And great music is born out of getting a bunch of guys that's from all over the place. And you bring them together and you play great music. That's what it is. And that's exactly what we need. He's exactly what we need. And I don't care what anybody says. This guy needs an opportunity to coach a team. And I just hope and pray that the Bears don't let him out of this building and they give him an opportunity. I know No Maniacs and everybody out there watching this show. There's a lot of eyes everywhere else, and everybody sees these other coaches and coordinators as, they're the shiny new toy. But I think we got right what we need right inside this building. We just got the wrong leader, period. And I think this dude is everything we need plus some. But that being said, let me take this down because we gotta get ready to close the show out. You with us? FFG probably bounce for a second to let me talk for a minute. I'm gonna talk to you guys for a minute. I'm reading the comments in here. I'm reading. Let me address. Yeah, you think it's funny until we got the next Mike Tomlin down, bro. I know you think it's funny right now. That's easy to say. And Leonidas Rockefeller says he's with me and he just does. No, he's talking about Don. My bad. You know what? When you monetize a show, you can't just play other people's content and the Bears content you'll get knocked for. I would love to play it. So maybe I'll try to find a way to maybe put something like some kind of cover screen on his audio and just play the audio anyway. Or maybe I'll just do it in the next some extra sauce. But man, his interviews are special, man. Straight up special. Let me see. Derek Carter saying, Nomad, did you see the QB change, the protection scheme on 4th down and throw to Allen? I got to go back and look at that one and see exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, for the first down down the stretch when we got in field goal position. That was great. Yeah.
You saw that?
Yes, sir. They actually schemed it up so he had time to step into the throw where he wasn't backing up.
That's good. But I didn't, one thing I was pleased to see like a MFer was the fact that he wasn't doing 24 checks at the line of scrimmage and running out of time and shit like that. Too much going on. He knew exactly what the play call was, got to the line and ran it. He might have slid the protection, called 1, 2, a couple of hot routes here and there, but he was calling what was coming into his helmet and it was working. And that's exactly what we need. Minimal, too much information for a rookie quarterback. You know what I'm saying, FFG?
Yeah. Keon West has got a great stat. 10 starts for Caleb. Good. 4 touchdowns, 1 interception versus the Jags. Bad. 9 other games, 5 touchdowns, 6 turnovers, 2 interceptions, 2 fumbles lost. 6 of 10 games, 0 touchdowns. Lost to Jaden and Drake May. So it's about putting your young star in a position to win. And so I think now that Thomas Brown is calling the shots, that he's going to do that more often. Now, he still didn't throw a touchdown last week. And so I think for you to be a quality quarterback in this league, you have to draw up plays and people got to catch the ball. That's number one, because we've had some drop touchdowns this season. Keenan's dropped some, Rome's dropped some, DJ dropped a couple, but there's no 4th or 5th wide receiver either. So I need to see the utilization of the whole team. So they just can't key in on everything they see on film. I've yet to see any wrinkles where it doesn't matter who's out there. Now we can see, okay, you got to prepare for something different every week. You know what I mean? And I haven't yet to see that. And I think, like Andy Reid, as much as people want to talk smack about him when he was in Philly, look at him in Kansas City. He doesn't use like 50 dudes, and they all caught a touchdown pass or got a flip or something, sweep or something to score, because he's utilizing the whole team regardless of how prominent they are in the offense.
On this fine Friday night, man, appreciate FFG, man, for being here with us, man. And we're trying to get some Nomad Live back out there, get some more content, get some more, just get some more of what we do and what we do best. And that's put out really good podcasts and take our time doing it. We don't try to I ain't crazy about all the little 5-10 minute videos and recording it and putting all that shit out there. We do podcasts. That's what we do, and we do it well. You know what I mean? I'm not with all that. And shout out and salute to everybody that does all that. Great for them. That's just not our style, man. Nobody got time for all that. Not me. You know what I mean? So it's a lot that I have to say. It's a lot to FFG, kids, trips, the dude Nick on the podcast. We got a lot to say, but we'd rather do it in podcast form so that everybody, every one of you know maniacs, and everybody involved can have a say so and a piece of what we try to do, man. Shout out Jay Sanders who just popped in to give his statement, man. We appreciate y'all. Mr. Mayhem, Aunt Moss, Amphibious, Amphibious, I don't know. I can't read that right now. Leonidas Rockefeller, Kanye West, all the people I see. Let me think. Don, we give you a shout out too. Chi-Town Menace. I'm seeing a bunch of people, man. Just
Jay
love
Sanders
y'all.
got the line of the day. I'm just here to see folks get fired. Have a nice night.
Hey, man, I just want to remember, man, make sure you remember this. Smash that like button on the way out the door, man. Hit that. We need all that for the algorithm, man. All this stuff is free, man. I don't know why it's such a, pulling nose hairs to get people to hit the like button. That shouldn't be that hard, but we appreciate if y'all do that, man. And also, let me put this up one more time for all the people who want to be part of what we do over here at the Nomad Network. You want to be a part of the show. You want to help us out with the content and the podcast that we create, and you like what we do, and you feel like you can bring something to the table, man, bring it. Bring it. Here's the email right here, right now. Go ahead, write it down, put it as a note in your phone, whatever you got to do. Just holler at me, and it would be nice if I can see. Let's just start off small. I'd like to see a minimum of 3 emails tomorrow. Somebody saying, you know what, no man, I can bring something to the table. I like what y'all do. Let me get in. I want to have something to say too. Be like FFG and just going out there. Jump out there and you see what happens, man. But hit us up at nomadlivepod2023@gmail.com and make sure y'all hit that subscribe button. Please. That's just why everybody's so gangster with the subscribe. Why? Man, we do great content over here. Hit us with the subscribe. Hit us with the subscribe, man. I know we worth it. We said something tonight that hit home with you, man. Hit us with a subscribe if you felt like we said at least one thing tonight that struck a chord with you, man. So that being said, let me pull this down. And also, while we're in here, let me make sure everybody knows about this. If you can and are willing, it's only $4.99 a month to become a Super No Maniac. And getting a membership is going to help us in so many different ways. There's so many things that I have to do personally for the network that cost money, you know what I mean, just to keep the lights on and do these podcasts and make sure everything looks good when we do it. There's technology you have to buy, apps you got to buy, all this kind of stuff that costs money. And anybody, and I appreciate you guys so much, all of you Super No Maniacs that are members every month. Love you guys because we need every ounce of that. We need every ounce of that and some. And so I just would encourage anybody that can and that is willing, $4.99 a month, man. I'm not going to count nobody's pocket, but hopefully you can help us out somewhere down the line. And a little note before I take this down off the screen, thinking about adding something next week to the Super No Maniac, something I'm debating on whether I want to do as some private members for you guys that are members, or when I want to give it out to the public. But I'm leaning towards doing it for the Super No Maniacs that support us with their funds and give us $5 a month to do this content. I'm thinking about adding another show to that content. And what that show is, I'm not going to say out loud because I know if I do, somebody's going to run and try to beat me to the punch. And so I would just say this. Let's just say mid to late next week. Mid to late next week, you're probably going to see a new show pop out of the blue. And I think you guys are going to really, really enjoy this show that I haven't told anybody about it. Not FFG, not kids, not Dude, not Trips, not nobody. I haven't told anybody about it. But if you grab a membership and get in here somewhere between Thursday and Sunday, I think you'll be pleased with what the content that we're going to put out there. I think everybody's going to enjoy that. But that's just some encouragement to grab a membership. And anybody that's going to do it, we thank you in advance, man. But pull that down right quick before we get ready to close this show. Love you guys one more time. It's too many people for me to give a shout out to. But, we love you guys so much. And let me pull up the close. Hold on. You want to talk for a second, FFG, before we get out here? You got any closing remarks?
Yes, sir. I really appreciate everybody participating and being opinionated, because I'm opinionated son of a bitch. I ain't gonna lie. So I love hearing everybody's point of view. This is what we're here for to express your views, to show love, show hate, show indifference. Let us know how you feel and what you want the show to become, and to actually give feedback, because that's where it's interactive. It's not we not out here trying to just tell you, hey, they signed so and so, or hey, they're thinking about, hiring this coach. No, we want to know what you think. And the more conducive it is to have an environment where everybody has their opinion felt, makes it special. So you can be yourself, and you could be on the show. Trust me when I tell you, all I did was ask. I was like, hey, I was in the chat. I was like, yo, let me come on and just holler at you real quick. Boom. Now I'm just, on my free time, helping out. I ain't getting paid for this. I'm just a big Bears fan that loves my team and want to show love and want to show the ability to be able to express my opinion. And I think that is more powerful than somebody like Bears Chat Sports or whatever, where they getting paid, don't even give a damn about the team, and they just putting out information based on public opinion and all this other BS. That's not what we do. Seriously. So be yourself, be genuine, and come and hang out every week and show us the love and show the Bears the love and what you want to happen. Because I guarantee you this will affect change in positive ways. Not just in your home, but in the team that you love. Because you got to believe somebody out there hearing this every week, understanding that the fans have spoken.
Hey man, let me tell you, let me just say I appreciate you, FFG, for jumping on with us and being a part of what we're trying to do over here. But he's a perfect example of why I put the email address on the screen, so you guys can let us know if you want to be a part of it, man. It's some people out there right now that I haven't met, we haven't met yet, that are perfect people for what we're trying to build over here at the Nomad Network. Just don't be shy, don't be afraid. There's ways. I have a way about me, and I know that the people that I work with over here at the Nomad Network, there's a very warm and welcoming atmosphere over here. So don't feel shy about, coming over here. If you want to be a part of the podcast, or you want to, you're probably gonna be pleasantly surprised at what you come over here. Don't pay any attention to anything anybody might say on the outside of what we do over here. Come in here and meet people, get to know folks, and make your own judgments about what's what over here. And you might be surprised. Matter of fact, I know you will be. So I just like to see at least 3 people jump in the email and actually ask to come on here. And I would be more than gracious with you. I'll just say that, and I know everybody else will. I think I can speak for everybody when I say that. But with that being said, we got to get out of here because my girlfriend is on her way home very, very shortly. And I was able to get it in this weekend on a Friday night. And so it was fun, man. I appreciate you, FFG, man. This was a good show. Had a good time doing it, man. And I love you guys in the show with all these comments. It was buck in the comment section, real buck in the comment section. It's a good time, man. So I got to leave you guys with these famous words that I really, really mean when I tell you guys this. And on this day, and moving forward, you're going to see what I'm talking about. When I say, if you can think it, people, and you can see it, people, you can absolutely manifest it. You just cannot be a prisoner of your own mind. You just can't be. You just got to see your way through it. But with that being said, we are out.
Peace.